Hello dear students, welcome to my YouTube channel. आज कोर 5 पेपर जो रही आमर सेकेंड यूनिट इंस्ट्रक्शनल ऑब्जेक्टिव्स से विषय रे आस आज पढ़ा यूनिट 2 लॉन्ग क्वेश्चन सिलेक्टेड लॉन्ग क्वेश्चंस वीडियो को आरंभ शेष पर्यंत देखिबो एवं वीडियो को स्किप करिवो नहीं एवं जो मैंने चैनल रे नुआ अच्छा चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर देबो। ताले चलो डिस्कशन करबा क्वेश्चन आंसर यूनिट 2 रो। First question is explain the cognitive domain and different domains of cognitive level. The answer is the cognitive domain involves these objectives that deal with the development of intellectual abilities and skills. Cognitive domain is concerned with knowledge outcomes, intellectual abilities and skills which includes activities such as remembering and recalling, thinking, problem solving, creativity, etc. So, cognitive domain is concerned with knowledge outcomes which involves or includes activities such as remembering and recalling, thinking, problem solving, creativity, etc. The activities like remembering, recalling, thinking, problem solving, creativity, etc. are all comes under our mental activities. So this include the cognitive domain. The major categories under cognitive domain are knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. So let's now discuss these cognitive domains. So first is knowledge. Let's know what is knowledge. Knowledge or memory is the lowest and foundation for the development of a higher order of cognitive skills. ପିଲାମାନେ ଗୋଟିଏ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଏଇଠି ମନେ ରଖିବ ଯେ ହାୟର ଅର୍ଡ଼ର ଅଫ୍ କଗ୍ନିଟିଭ୍ ସ୍କିଲ୍ସ ଏଇଟା ମନେ ରଖିଥିବ ହ୍ୱିଚ୍ ଇଜ୍ କଲ୍ଡ ଆଜ୍ ନଲେଜ୍। ତ ହାୟର ଅର୍ଡ଼ର ଅଫ୍ କଗ୍ନିଟିଭ୍ ସ୍କିଲ୍ ଇଜ୍ କଲ୍ଡ ଆଜ୍ ନଲେଜ୍। ଏଇଟା ସର୍ଟ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଆସିପାରେ ବା ଡ୍ୟାସ୍ ପୂରଣରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଆସିପାରେ। ନଲେଜ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଡିଫାଇନ୍ଡ ଆଜ୍ ଦ ରିମେମ୍ବରିଂ ଅଫ୍ ପ୍ରିଭିୟସଲି ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣଡ ମ୍ୟାଟେରିଆଲ। It may include behavior which emphasize on the recalling wide range of ideas, materials, etc. The pupil recall the certain piece of information which he has learned earlier. In the cognitive domain, knowledge is the simplest form of learning. So the second domain is comprehension. Comprehension is all about internalization of knowledge. It is the ability to grasp the meaning of materials. It involves making memory out of what is stored in the brain. Comprehension involves the activities like translating the material from one form to another, interpreting the material, and predicting future trends. It requires a little higher order of learning ability than knowledge. So, comprehension means we have to grasp the knowledge about a certain topic or idea. So the third domain is application. Application is defined as the ability to use learned material in new and concrete situations. In application, the learner uses what he knows to solve a new problem or in a new situation. Thus, ability is evidenced when a student can apply certain rules, methods, concepts, principles, and theories in order to arrive at the solution of the problem. The fourth domain is analysis. Let's know what is analysis. Analysis refers to the breakdown of the material into its constituent parts and detection of all the relationships of the parts and the way they are organized. It is the breaking down of communication into constituent parts elements in order to establish the relationship or make the relation between ideas expressed to be clear or explicit. According to Bloom, analysis involves three major processes, which are first, number one is analysis of the parts. Second point is analysis of a relation between the parts, and third is analysis of organization principles involved. The fifth domain is synthesis. Synthesis involves building up or putting together elements. It refers to putting together of elements and parts so as to form a whole. Synthesis is the opposite of analysis. In analysis, the student has to part or differentiate the different parts, and in synthesis the student has to putting together the different parts or elements. It refers to putting together of elements and parts so as to form a whole. This involves the process of working with the pieces, parts, elements, and arranging and combining them in such a way as to constitute a pattern of structure not clarify them before. So it is a process of categorizing items, composing of poems and songs, writing, etc. This is the ability to reduce a unique communication production of a plan or proposal of operations and development of a set of abstract relations. It involves the creative aspect of the individual's personality. It emphasizes on the creation of a new order of structures. It requires a higher mental ability than analysis. Some of the general and specific objectives are production of a unique communication, plan or proposal, and development of a set of abstract relations. So, this is what about the synthesis. The next domain is evaluation. The next and last domain is evaluation. Evaluation is the highest level in the hierarchy of a cognitive domain. Evaluation is defined as the ability to judge the value of a material for a given purpose. It involves making a quantitative or qualitative judgment about a piece of communication, a procedure, a method, a proposal, or a plan. The judgment is made on the basis of certain natural and external criteria. It is the ability to judge, to check, and even criticize the value of material. It involves the elements of all the other five categories: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, and synthesis, along with the value judgment. Some of the general and specific learning outcomes under evaluation aspects are organization of material, internal criteria, external criteria, and judge the adequacy of material. So, this is all about what are the domains of cognitive areas. Let's now discuss the second most important question is discuss the affective domain with general and specific instructional objectives. So, affective domain is concerned with the feelings, emotion, and behavior, that is attitude or feel. Affective domain includes the objectives which describe the change in attitudes, interest, appreciation, and modes of adjustment. Affective domain is generally convert behavior. The educational objectives vary from simple attention to complex and internally constituent qualities of character and conscience. The major categories included in the affective domain are receiving, responding, valuing, and characterization. These categories are further divided into subclasses under the heading General Instructional and Specific Instructional Objectives. The first point is receiving. Receiving is the lowest level of learning outcome in the affective domain. Outcome in the affective domain. It is defined as the student's willingness to attend to particular phenomena or stimulates. It is the sensitivity of a learner to the existence of certain stimuli or phenomena. Receiving has three sub-levels: awareness, willingness, and controlled or selected attention. ତେଣୁ ରିସିଭିଂର ଫାଷ୍ଟ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଯେଉଁ ଆମର ଆସିଲା ରିସିଭିଂର ତିନିଟା ସବ୍ ଲେଭେଲ୍ ଅଛି କ'ଣ କ'ଣ ନା ଆୱାରନେସ୍, ୱିଲିଂନେସ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ୍ଡ ଅର୍ ସିଲେକ୍ଟେଡ୍ ଆଟେନ୍ସନ୍. The second point is responding. Responding refers to active participation on the part of the student. Here the learner attends and reads to a particular phenomenon. He is not only concerned with attending or doing something but also reacting in some way. Responding has also three sub-levels such as acquaintance in responding, willingness to respond, and satisfaction in respond. It involves voluntary responses to a given situation and satisfaction in response. Learning outcomes like reading the assigned material, reading for pleasure's sake, reading beyond assigned material comes under this category. The next point is valuing. What is valuing? Valuing refers to the worth or value of a student attaches to a particular object, phenomenon, or behavior or situation. It ranges from simple acceptance to the more complex state of commitment. This ranges in degree from mere acceptance of value or a desire to improve group skills to a more complex level of commitment or an assumption of responsibility for the functioning of the group. It is the process of internalization of a set of specified values. Valuing also involves acceptance of a value, preference for a value, and a commitment to a value. Next step is organization. Organization is the process of conceptualization of values and the employment of these concepts for determining the relationship among values. It invites the understanding of the relationship of abstract elements of a value to these already held or to new values which are gaining acceptance. Thus, it is the process of bringing together different values, resolving conflicts, and building an internally consistent value system. Learning at this level includes the activities like comparing and synthesizing values. Generally, relating specific learning outcomes under organization are conceptualization of a value and organization of a value system. The next step is characterization by a value. It means characterization of a value implies that organization of interrelationship among various values into a total philosophy of a worldview. At this level, an individual has a value system that has controlled his behavior for a sufficient long time for him to have a developed characteristic lifestyle. As the behavior is guided by a permanent value system, so it is pervasive, consistent, and practicable. It has two levels: generalized characterization. The general and specific learning outcomes under this domain are safety, consciousness, self reliance, cooperation, and industry and self discipline. So, the second question is, was discuss affective domain with general and specific instructional objectives. The first question was cognitive domain that we have already discussed. The second question is affective domain, and let's now discuss the third question, which is psychomotor domain. Let's know what is psychomotor domain and its general and specific learning outcomes. So, psychomotor objectives are specific to physical functions, reflect actions, and interpretive movements. It includes objects related to perceptual and motor skills areas. It requires a higher order of thinking, ability, and doing. It deals with areas involving varied types of muscular skills and coordinations. These activities are related to practical skills and habits. Laboratory experiments, work experience programs, and practical works in teaching learning process come under this category. So, psychomotor domain involves the child's full involvement in a work, like practical skills and habits, laboratory experiments, work experience programs, and practical works. Psychomotor domain classified as a perception set, guided response mechanism, complex over response, adaptation, and organization. So, what is perception? Perception refers to the use of sense organs to obtain cues that guide motor activities. So, perception is to stimulate in a proper manner. An example of a general Perception refers to the use of sense organs to obtain cues that guide motor activity. So, perception is to stimulate in a proper manner. An example of general and specific learning outcomes under psychomotor domain are awareness of a stimulus, speed, sound, movement, selection of a cue, translation such as distinguish different colors. Next point is set. Set means readiness to take a particular type of action. Set is any learning situation that requires the physical, mental, and emotional readiness of the learner. When the student has perceived the stimulus properly, then only a set will take place. The general and specific learning outcomes under these objectives are mental readiness to act, physical readiness to act, willingness to act, etc. The third point is guided response, which means guided response refers to the early stages in the learning a complex skill. When the student learns complex skills like drawing a diagram, he learns through imitation and trial and error. By this process, he learns the process completely. Different general and specific learning outcomes coming under this category are learning through imitation, such as construct a diagram, learning through trial and error, such as mix different colors to get a particular color, adapt different methods to identify salt or chemical. The next point is mechanism, which means mechanism is the process by which the learned responses became more perfect and habitual. After a thorough practice, the individual can perform the task with confidence and proficiency. The main concern at this level are performance skills of various types. The example of a general and specific instructional objectives of mechanism are writing skills, laboratory performance skills like operate machines, assemble instruments, and teaching performance skills of a pupil teacher, such as give appropriate examples, use of aids, etc. The next point is complex overt response. It means complex overt response refers to the skillful performance of motor acts that involves complex movement patterns. At this level, it is observed that how proficiently an individual performs its work, such as quick, smooth, and accurate performance with limited energy. It requires a high coordination of activities. The general and specific learning outcomes at this level are operation of machines skillfully, plays of musical instruments skillfully. The next point is adaptation. It is the skill to adjust to the novel situations. Adaptation is defined as the skills that are so used developed that the individual can modify movement patterns to fit special requirements or to meet a problem situation. General objective and specific learning outcomes under adaptation are adjustment and modification of behavior, such as adjust the betting according to the change of pace in bowling. Next point is organization. Organization refers to creative performance skills. It is the new movement pattern to fit a particular situation or specific problem. It is the ability to develop an original skill that replaces the skills as initially learned. The general and specific learning outcomes under organization are creative performance skills such as compose poems, dramas of a new style, creates new theory, creates new designs, compose new music and lyrics, etc. Another most important question is explain the importance of taxonomy. Let's now discuss what is the importance of a taxonomy. Taxonomical classification of instructional objectives are very much important in the teaching learning process. The usefulness of a taxonomical classifications are given below. The first point is as the categories in the taxonomy are arranged on the basis of this different level, so it is useful in identifying the meaningful level at which the learner is working. The second point is it helps in practicing the principle of a comprehensiveness of evaluation by ensuring proper coverage of various aspects of a pupil's growth. The third point is the validity of the testing devices can be determined on the basis of objectives it measures. And fourth point is taxonomy helps to decide the tools and techniques of evaluation. କ'ଣ କରେ ନା କେଉଁ ଟେକ୍ନିକ୍ ସବୁ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରାଯିବ, ଟୁଲ୍ସ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରାଯିବ ଫର୍ ଇଭାଲୁଏସନ୍, ତାକୁ ନିଷ୍ପତ୍ତି ନେଇଥାଏ ଥ୍ରୁ ଟ୍ୟାକ୍ସୋନୋମି. The fifth point is identification of areas of interrelationship among the three domains helps in arriving at a meaningful synthesis of the various dimensions of the pupil's growth through evolution process. Three dimension cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain. The next point is the logical nature of a categorization helps in identifying a to grading teaching learning situations which can be important source of a selecting proper testing situation. The next point is taxonomy of instructional objectives helps in curriculum development and preparation of instructional material. The next point is taxonomy of learning objectives will provide a bridge for the further communication among teachers, between teachers and evaluators, curriculum and research workers, psychologists and other behavioral scientists. The next point is it has opened the scope of formulating new objectives, modification of existing objectives and formulating more categories and subcategories. Another next important question is explain the principles of selecting instructional objectives. It is difficult on the part of a teacher to select the appropriate instructional objectives. He is always in trouble to decide which objectives are to be included and which are to be avoided. The following principles help a teacher in determining the list of instructional objectives. The first point is the instructional objectives should include all important learning outcomes. The instructional objectives should include all possible learning outcomes from knowledge, understanding, skills, attitudes, etc. The second point is the instructional objectives should be according to the goals of society. Each society has certain general goals, so the objectives selected should reflect the general goals of the society. The third point is the instructional objectives should be according to the sound principles of learning. Instructional objectives are the product of learning experiences. Therefore, while selecting the instructional objectives, the ability, interest, capacity to remember, etc., should be taken into consideration. The next point is the instructional objectives should be accessible in terms of a student's ability, time, and facilities available. While selecting an instructional objective, a teacher should take into account the mental abilities of the students for whom the objectives are to be selected. Another important factor is the facilities available in the school for instruction and time required to achieve these objectives. So, instructional objectives plays a pivotal role in the teaching learning process. So, before entering into the classroom, the teacher should define the instructional objectives, and according to the instructional objectives, the teacher should continue his teaching. The instructional objectives should be based on the child's interest, age, need, and ability of the child. So, without the instructional objectives, the teaching learning process cannot be successful. Let's now discuss another important question. What are the criteria for stating general instructional objectives? Let's discuss. To obtain a comprehensive list of the instructional objectives, the following steps to be followed. The first step is each general objective should be stated in an intended learning outcome. It means the objective must be stated in terms of students' expected terminal behavior. For example, defines the term, understand the relationship, apply the formula to solve problems, interprets charts and graphs. Only one learning outcome should be included in each general objective. Second point is each general objective should include one type of student's performance. For example, it should not be stated like understand and apply the formula to solve mathematical problems. It should be stated like understand the formula, apply the formula to solve mathematical problems. ଦୁଇଟା ଅବଜେକ୍ଟିଭ୍ ଏକା ସାଙ୍ଗେ ରହିବନି, ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଆପ୍ଲାଇଜ୍, ତେଣୁ ଦୁଇଟାକୁ ଅଲଗା ଅଲଗା କରାଯାଇପାରିବ. The next point is statement of each general objective should begin with a verb. The objective should be stated in terms of student's behavior in the expected terminal behavior of the student. For example, know the events, understand the principles, apply the principles and rules, etc. Next point is each general objective should be stated as the proper level of generality. A general instructional objective must be stated in general terms. This provides the teacher more freedom in selecting the method and material for instruction. For example, the objective must be stated as known specific facts, understand the principles and relationships, interprets maps and charts, applies theories to solve practical problems, etc. The next point is statements of a general objective should be free from course content. The general objectives कहले साधारण उद्देश्य गुड़िक कौन हम दरकार कोर्स कंटेंट भितर हवा कथा नुहे जेतरे स्पेसिफिक ऑब्जेक्टिव गुड़िक कौन ना कोर्स कंटेंट भितर आसी थाए साधारण उद्देश्य गुड़िक कोर्स टॉपिक रु आसी न थाए मुख्य उद्देश्य गुड़िक टॉपिक भितर आसी थाए. The statement of a general objectives should not be taken from the course content so that it can be used for several units. Example, apply the principles and rules to solve mathematical problems. The next point is overlapping of the objectives should be avoided. In order to avoid the overlapping of the instructional objective, proper planning is necessary. Preparation of a table of a specification helps the teacher to avoid overlapping of the instructional objectives. Then table of a specification कहले कौन ना जो blueprint था blueprint is the 3-dimensional chart. So table बा से चार्ट अनुसार करिया पई पड़ी थाए कौन ना instructional objectives गुड़िक. Another most important question is explain the criteria for stating specific learning objectives. Let's now discuss. The statement of a specific learning objective makes the general instructional objective more clear and convenient. A general instructional objective supported to specific learning outcomes provide adequate direction for teaching and testing. So, specific learning outcomes should be stated clearly. The following steps helps to state specific learning objectives. The first point is each general objective must be supported by a representative sample of specific objectives. It means a list of specific learning outcomes coming under each general objective must be prepared. It must be clearly described what type of a terminal performance the student are expected to perform. The second step is each specific learning objective must begin with an action verb. For example, define important terms, identify the difference between different terms, etc. The third step is specific learning objective must be related to the general objectives under which it is stated. While preparing the list of specific learning objectives, one must be sure that each specific learning objectives is relevant to the general objectives under which it is stated. For example, general objectives interprets graphs and charts as specific learning objectives. Understand the slope of the graphs. The next step is adequate number of specific learning objectives should be enlisted. It means to describe properly and adequately the performance of pupils who have attained the objective. Enough specific learning outcomes should be included. The next step is statement of a specific learning objective should be free from course content. The objective stated should not be taken from the course content directly, so it can be used for several units. This is all about your second unit and very important questions. So वीडियो को आरंभ शेष पर्यंत भल भाव देखिबो एवं नोट प्रिपेयर करनबो एवं तुम एग्जाम पाई रेडी हो जिवो. थैंक यू ऑल.